Here we're going to be going over the Office Events section within a client file. We're going to be talking about what this banner does, the Add Event button, these links here, and also what is in these columns. So starting at the very top, we can click on this Office Events banner, and when we do this, it's going to show all of our events. So any open ones and also any closed ones. You click on it again, it's only going to show the open events. Below that, we have our Add Event button. Click on this. This is just a way that you can add a new event status to this client file, and also you can use it to move your client throughout the workflow. This checkbox here will change up the view of our events. It kind of gives us more of a column view here. And then this display events due for will kind of just filter what events are displayed based off of the due date. Below that, we have our print account event history, which would print us a report of the history of our events. Same thing goes for the printing of our account event notes. And also too, this will print whatever is shown here. So if you want to have it for all the events, you're going to want to click on this to make sure that all the events are shown, and then it'll print you an event history of all the events. Same with the event notes. If you want to print a billable report, you can click on this and it'll ask you for a date range. Then you could run a billable report for that date range. And then the export to Excel will export our events to Excel, and the same thing applies. You're going to want to have this set to show all events in order for all the events to be exported to Excel. So starting with our columns, over on the left, this is just a select box here. This top one selects all the events in there, whereas this one just selects this one for tax preparation. The edit pencil will open up our fields so we can edit within here. And also too, if we do make a change in here, we're going to click this little floppy disk to save. If you want to delete the event, you're just going to hit this trash can right here. This setting is turned on in the user settings. That's going to be allow account event modification. So if this is checked, then your users will be able to delete events and also select them here. For this column, we have our event checklists that you can set up for events. For our tax preparation, this one does not have one set up, but you could set those up for other events. This done column is just a way that you can click this and mark it as done. For a business type like tax preparation, you wouldn't want to just do this. You'd want to either move them through the workflow using our status dropdown or this add event button. We then have our status column that just tells us what event status that they're in. We have our notes column. This is where we can add in our notes if you wanted to. You could even timestamp it so we have the exact date and time and user that's making the event. And also we have our predefined notes, where if we find ourselves typing the same thing a lot, we can set that up within this event status itself through the admin tab, and then just click on that, and then we can already have that text pre-fill in there. And also too, this little book symbol here, this is how you can add an event permanent note. For something like tax prep, you might not make use of this very much, but for other business types like payroll and bookkeeping, you might want to make use of this. It's just a way to add a permanent note to this event status. Then over here on the right, we have our assign to column, and this is where we could assign this particular status to someone. And now you just hit save right there, and then this will put it under my assigned tasks. And also we have this keep assigned checkbox, and if this is checked, even if this event is closed out, this will still be in my assigned tasks. We then have our assigned and due date column, and this is where we can see the assigned date. We could give this a due date if we wanted to, and also it shows the days after the due date. And also too, we could set the priority of this up here, and all this does is sort of just highlights the ones that are set to a higher priority. Over here in our settings column, this is where you can set the event to copy or copy and close, or none of that. For something like tax preparation, you'd want to leave this blank, but for other business types, if you did want this event to copy when it's closed, for example, you just have that set, and then when you close this event and open up in a new year, it will copy it over. Then we have the site. This just indicates what site that this event status is for, and then the event type. Again, something you're not going to use very much for tax preparation, but for other business types, you could give this an event type. We then have our user column, if we want to give this event a different event user. Also in our user column, if you're outside of the edit screen for it, you can see who created the event, who made the last change, and also who the event user is. We then have our date times column. Tells us the start date, the created date, how long this event has been open, and once this event is closed, it'll have an end date. If I click on our edit pencil, I could edit these fields if I wanted to. And then if I just click the clock here, it's going to push in the end date. And if I did this, it would close out the event. Over in our billable column, we have this box checked as it's a billable event. We have our rate in here. We have our billable hours, and this little clock here is a way that we could start or stop the billable hours clock. And since I did that, it reset whatever was in here. And then it'll track to the amount and also the variance. This variance ties into your budgeted hours. So if I click on our edit pencil to edit this right there, I could put in our budget hours. Maybe we'll take 4. And I could also override our hours with the billable hours. So say that this was sitting in the status for 10 hours, but really I only spent 5 hours on it. I could just override that right here. Hit save. And then it'll show our amount and our variance. So we were 1 hour over. Then lastly, in our columns, we have our client notification column. And this is where we can send a predefined notification that has been set up for this status. In this particular case, it has not been set up. So to better illustrate this, I'm just going to grab a different status. We'll do in review. I'm sorry, we'll actually do rejects. So I'll move this client over to rejects, and if I do send predefined notification, you can see that we do have one set up here that we could send out. And also too, our rejects status is set up to where if a client is in it, every few days they will be getting an automatic message from Atom Software. So if you wanted to actually adjust that part of it, you could just do disable notifications right here or override the day. So if you want to maybe have this go out every 7 days, we could do so right there and then hit save, and then it'll adjust those settings. Then lastly, under here, again, we have our add event button underneath all of this. We have our mark as done or undone, like so. We have our delete events button if you wanted to delete this event. And then we have our override fields and our move events. To have these settings turned on, again, that's within the user file. You're going to want to allow batch event fields override turned on. And then if we click on this here, this will bring up all sorts of different fields that we could override. And lastly, we have our move events where we could move this to a different account year or to a different linked client. So if we wanted to move this rejects because maybe we made a mistake and we opened up a 2019 file, whereas really we meant to be working on their 2018 file, we could just still keep the work that we've done, but just move it over to our different file. So that is it for the Office Events section within a client file. I thank you for watching.